Welcome, brothers and sisters, to Radio Free Canada. Here we are on guard from the tyranny that is about to take place, where our brothers have turned upon us to invade a sovereign nation. We will prevail. We will be strong.
Elbows up, Canada. This is Radio Free.
Punch their
Bob
faces in,
Cajun.
everyone!
Bunker and Bob Cajun.
Oh, how dare you! You can't do that to me. Stop it.
There you go. We just imagined what Radio Free Europe and other programs that the United States had to teach people about freedom and democracy in an age of communism during the post-World War II era, broadcasting into and behind the Iron Curtain.
Yeah.
And yet, here we are in the Bob Cajun bunker talking about the same possibility of podcasting from the bunker, sending out Morse code to Radio Free Canada while being occupied.
Yeah, imagine that, eh? And only today they'd be able to track the signal down like crazy, wouldn't they?
Oh, triangulation is a son of a gun thing. And the worst part is they might have space-based weapons that they could, before we finish the podcast, put an end to us. So what world is it that this is you and I, two retired guys with a coffee, pensioners, healthcare provided, and thinking of the possibility of Radio Free Canada?
We got a problem here, and this is the problem. We know who it is, and that person is, it reminds me of the end times, quite frankly, when it says the devil knows his time is short and he's out with pure fury. That reminds me of Trump, out with pure fury, wanting to get everything done before he dies. That's why I don't believe he's a man of God. I don't believe he believes in God, because just because of the way he is. Well, I guess we'll wait for glory, but I think anybody that's doing all that he's doing as fast as he's doing it, knowing he's causing great distress, not only for the people in his own country, but people in Canada, especially now.
And around the world.
And around the world now. I mean, did you ever think you would see within such a short period turn from
democracy.
Turn from democracy. Did you ever think that turn from your allies? That's what the United States is now doing.
G7 -1, NATO -1,
Yeah.
NORAD minus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to pull out of NATO, and NORAD's already a shambles now. How can it ever be back? There's no way. I mean, the guy is, what he's done already is, I think, unable to be reversed, because once everybody starts having to get their new alliances, their armory, their satellite feeds, everything, once that starts, they can't just be putting the brakes on at this guy's whim. And that's what happened to Canada this time. First time he threatened, fine. Second time, no. The tariffs are staying on because we can't keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just because you want this one day and this another day, and you want to be this big man that's standing up in the news. So it's a bad situation that we're really finding ourselves in. And yeah, someday we could actually find ourselves being under the attack of our brothers from the United States, God forbid.
God forbid. Will we have to learn Morse code for the Jim and Terry show? That's I say that in jest, but in Scouts, we had, as part of our badges you could earn a Morse code competency badge.
Really, eh?
Yes, so we did learn that ... the SOS. So, you start with that, but we started, I don't know what that message was. I just grabbed a Morse code sample at the beginning, but we can get a translator where you can translate the words into Morse code so we can speak, and it'll translate it into Morse code and send a signal. But the word, again, I use the word gallows humor for a lot of our podcasts of late, ever since January's inauguration. Going back to things that don't add up, the speech at the inauguration was terrible. The speech of the first inauguration was abysmal, but the speech that he made to the Congress, to the joint session of Congress, where he shook hands with Chief Justice Roberts and said, "Thanks, I won't forget."
Yeah.
That was the scary stuff.
All of it's been, the second term has been, it's like my brother said, the first term, it was kind of a joke. He's liking it.
It was never a joke.
I know, but he's the president, smiling. Let's face it, second term, his presidential pictures, his mugshot.
Yes.
It's his mugshot.
So what part of this is a joke?
He's just pure. It was like Bob said, it was almost like Satan entered into him when he got shot in the ear. It came popping up from the stage.
Okay,
really
you and
angry.
I don't know about you, but I don't believe that was an assassination attempt at all. That was fraud, another manifestation of fraud.
Could have been.
But somebody really died. Yes, people really died.
Which was
very sad. Trump used it and staged it, I'm sure. And one life being given is nothing.
Oh, not to him.
Not to him at all.
Oh, no way. There's people starving right now as we're talking.
Yes.
And they're not even, him and Musk aren't even blinking.
No.
Because they haven't got the ability, Terry.
There's no moral.
They're sociopaths.
Yes, sociopaths are without a conscience.
Yeah.
They feel nothing.
They feel nothing. And you can see it in him. He just feels nothing. And all he has is anger. You do it my way or you take the highway. And he just likes to put fear, and he wants to be fear.
Let me swing this to a podcast that I'll put a link to the description if I remember to do it. IHIP, IHIP, two women who are speaking. And the podcast that I sent to you was one that I found interesting because it's women talking about serial predators. All the people who are ne'er-do-wells of the most despicable stuff are in the White House and in the administration, carrying out executive orders on behalf of the predator-in-chief.
Would you ever think you'd see the day?
Never.
Ever think you'd see what we're seeing? And I know, I guess because of trolls or whatever has happened or all of these different media things that you can get on that, people are just dumb to it. I don't think they believe it. I think they think you and me are exaggerating the horrific setup that's happening now in the United States.
You say setup. What did you mean by that?
Well, he's setting things up to take over completely, to account to nobody, to be the boss, to be the mob boss, to be the Putin.
I think the setup for that began very early on, probably before 2015, before he announced he's running the first time. And the reason I'm going to suggest that is that we've had over 20 years of Rupert Murdoch's Fox propaganda network. And I say Fox propaganda knowing it's the only network he goes on to speak. It's the only one who gets exclusive interviews with him. And I will point to the most despicable interview that was just this past 2 days, Laura Ingraham on Fox with Trump, where he talked about Canada.
And said Canadians are horrible.
Nasty.
Nasty people. Nasty.
And we cheat.
Of all the people in the world, they're the nastiest. Imagine that. And, I know comedians come on and go, yeah, Canada's the nastiest. But that's what he's trying to get. He's trying to get across down there. And anybody traveling there, I just have to remind you, do not put a Canadian flag on anywhere, and do not talk politics to anybody down there.
And don't say A.
And don't say A.
Whatever else you got to do. I'm showing you on the screen here the total following of top right-leaning and left-leaning online shows. You can tell by the size of the dots what their viewership is, and you can tell who has the most colored dots on this chart. And if you look at that, you'd have to say right-wing media is the dominant institution in America's media-verse. The media-verse, the media sphere, whatever you want to call it, it's awful. And just the names, Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, Russell Brand, Candace Owens, Jordan Peterson, Charlie Kirk. I mean, the names of the ne'er-do-wells grows and grows. And the size of the followings. Rogan's got nearly 40 million followers. What can we do when you get crazy with that many people following?
Again, I've said it's almost like it's a punishment of God, because you would not be able to say this 2 years ago was ever going to happen to America. You might have seen it, Terry, but most people didn't.
No.
And all of a sudden he's in, and you saw the speech at I call it the inauguration.
Yes.
The coronation, I call
Yeah.
it, where he just let fly.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it was everything else he's done. He's let fly with anger and horror. And people should be worried.
To reprise our opening, Radio Free Canada may be not too far off base.
Maybe. We'll be here for you, Canada.
Jim and Terry Show, podcasting Radio Free Canada from the bunker in Bob Cajun. Maybe we should go anonymous. Bye for now.